Hello. How are you? Good. What did I miss? Nothing. All right, let's go. No, wait. I got a vibranium arm. I can take the... And I can fly. Who gives a shit?
If you believed The Falcon and the Winter Soldier would be, as its marketing seemed to suggest, a standard Marvel movie chopped into 6 television-sized pieces, then the reality certainly comes as a surprise. The story of Sam Wilson and James Bucky Barnes is less a comic book villain-busting adventure and more an examination of institutional racism, radicalization, and the looming shadow of lost heroes. Often closer to the run of a good Netflix Marvel show than anything seen on the big screen, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a surprisingly weighty, frequently engrossing show, though every so often it flies too close to the sun and demonstrates an inability to restrain its scope to a level that could be adequately explored in the time it has. Even so, its ambition frequently wins the battle over its uneven quality and lackluster management of its components. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier's most prominent and well-explored theme is that of race and Black America. The character arc of Sam Wilson deals with his struggle to follow in the footsteps of Steve Rogers, his departed friend whose last act in Avengers Endgame was to pass on to Sam the Captain America shield. For a black man to take on that role, one that's emblematic of a nation that's long been unable to address its institutional racism, carries disturbing implications that haunt Sam throughout The Falcon and the Winter Soldier's 6-hour-long episodes. This is an abnormally heavy topic for the Marvel Cinematic Universe to delve into, and while it's not an academic-grade dissection, by examining the issue through a superhero lens, the message is made clear and accessible to all. Of Marvel's many on-screen triumphs, its treatment of Sam Wilson's story is among its strongest and most admirable. The strength of this exploration comes from both sharp writing and a strong leading performance from Anthony Mackie. Given much more room than he'd have in a movie, Mackie has the ability to convey emotion and inner turmoil through glances and subtle movements.
Thank you, Captain America. But this belongs to you.
While the Falcon may be the clear lead protagonist, his isn't the only name in the show's title. Sebastian Stan's Bucky Barnes is also along for the ride, but despite a fair amount of screen time, the ex-Winter Soldier isn't afforded the same storytelling luxuries as his partner. His personal antagonist is his own past, and segments of the series deal with him making amends for the damage he caused in his life as a Hydra assassin. But these moments are unfortunately few and far between. Despite starting on perfect footing in the series premiere, it's not until the penultimate episode that these themes are truly revisited in any meaningful way. In between those chapters, Bucky's main foe is Daniel Bruhl's fantastic Helmut Zemo, returning from his role as the instigator of Captain America Civil War. But, similar to Bucky's issues with his past, his relationship with Zemo promises more than it delivers. There's a great Hannibal Lecter-like dynamic between them, as the heroes must work with a villain to achieve greater things. But the opportunity for the slippery Zemo to manipulate Bucky in interesting ways is sadly missed. Bucky certainly gets the shorter end of the stick then, but the quieter moments where Stan gets to explore the character's inner turmoil and anxieties really prove that he was worth including in the story, even if the closure of his arc doesn't provide quite the amount of fireworks that Sam's does. For all their individual successes, the show is a double act, and Sam and Bucky's dynamic is a contributor to both highs and lows. Early on, particularly in the second episode, the writing really struggles with the pair's dialogue. The first half of the season positions them as a buddy comedy duo, as if this were Bad Boys or Rush Hour.
You know what? I can actually see it. I can see the gears turning. Oh, they're malfunctioning. Shutting down. Yep, they're on fire.
We gotta figure out where the serum's coming from.
Yeah, and how in the hell, after 80 years, are there 8 super soldiers running loose?
While humour is an essential part of the MCU, the attempt to use this relationship template in a story exploring such heavy themes feels entirely out of place. Thankfully, the crowbarred-in quips are mostly left behind in the latter half, making for a more natural back and forth between the two that still delivers jokes when appropriate.
I don't have the flashiest gadgets, I don't have super strength. But what I do have is guts. Something Captain America always had, always needs to have, and I'm gonna need every ounce of it.
Complicating Sam and Bucky's life is John Walker, a state-appointed successor to Steve Rogers. Played with smugness by Wyatt Russell, he's everything Captain America shouldn't be, a self-righteous, aggressive loose cannon. In the broad strokes, John Walker is a great examination of the danger of governments wielding superheroes as weapons. Unfortunately though, there's very little nuance to this, which makes this Captain America rather one-note. There are moments when we see a deeper personality, occasional glimpses of the pressure Walker feels as a soldier elevated to the US military's new poster boy, but the slim episode count and a mountain of other topics and characters means this particular thread isn't as well-rounded as it ought to be. A similar treatment is given to the Flag Smashers, a group of morally grey antagonists led by the radicalised Carly Morgenthau, played by Erin Kellyman. There's a huge amount of interesting ground this faction treads, touching on issues of humanitarian crisis, anti-nationalism, and the failure of government. This makes for a group of sympathetic villains, and the opportunity for a more complex approach from our heroes. Regrettably, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's writing really suffers when walking that morally grey line. Carly Morgenthau is clearly envisioned as a person with good intentions who goes too far, but a lack of granular detail in the Flag Smashers story means they come across too much as terrorists who are all too casual about killing innocents rather than freedom fighters. This occasionally, in its worst moments, comes across as the Falcon and the Winter Soldier outright condemning their argument, and so its worthy observations around radicalisation can be lost to simplification. Where the Falcon and the Winter Soldier certainly doesn't suffer is with its action choreography. Director Carrie Skoglund flawlessly replicates the grittier look of the Russo brothers' Captain America films, which makes for rugged and weighty fight sequences. The premiere opens with a thrilling dogfight that allows Falcon to literally spread his wings, but the best moments are all on the ground, where each punch rings loud. A late season battle in which Sam and Bucky tag team against a foe calls back the Steve-Bucky-Tony three-way clash at the end of Captain America Civil War, and is executed almost as skillfully. Episode to episode, Skoglund and showrunner Malcolm Spellman deliver a show that is consistently fulfilling in its drama, gritty direction, and the boldness of its themes. It is only by the final third that it becomes clear that time has been misspent on the wrong elements, and the pacing begins to spiral out of control. Alongside the topics already discussed, the story also reintroduces CIA agent Sharon Carter, Captain America the Winter Soldier's Batroc returns as a secondary villain, there's a shadowy big bad known only as the Power Broker, and plenty more besides. To say the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is overstuffed is putting it lightly. The end result of this is a conclusion that feels rushed and lacking detail as it races to put everything into place. The problem here is that, at its heart, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a character study. For the most part, that is its greatest strength, and it admirably sticks to its guns through the 6 episodes. But by introducing so many extra ideas, or by consistently dedicating long stretches of time to its central themes and characters, means many, if not all, of its side stories are weak and unfulfilling. Ultimately, this should have been a show about Sam and Bucky dealing with the legacy of their friend and what that means in relation to America's socio-political landscape. Thankfully, that is where the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's priorities lie, but it's little wonder that everything else around its best story threads suffer. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is an earnest, thoughtful, and politically charged story that skillfully explores issues of racism, duty, and legacy in a manner perfectly attuned to the style of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Along with WandaVision, it is indicative that Disney Plus is a space for Marvel's bolder, more challenging experiments. But while its exploration of the legacy of Steve Rogers and the role of Captain America is destined to be remembered among the MCU's high points, its many other plot lines and character arcs suffer from a lack of space and detail. This mountain of other ideas never spoils the story's central character focus, but they do undermine the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's best efforts to tell a consistently thrilling tale of heroism and spycraft. For the full written review, be sure to check out IGN.com. And if you'd like to know more about the MCU on Disney+, why not watch our WandaVision review?